Hey, this is Robin Wilson with Expat Diaries podcast, and today we are going to speak with Julie Kidd. And Julie has a very interesting story on her expat journey to Costa Rica, and I'm really excited to share it with you. And without further ado, when she comes back to her chair, you see the beautiful palm trees. Julie, how are you today?
I am fantastic, except for my little cat incident. She jumped on the chair and got stuck. Getting old, but that's that. It's been a crazy morning, but I'm fantastic.
So, the fun thing is that so I'm in the States right now, and yesterday time changed for us, and generally I'm always on the same time zone as Costa Rica, and except for when the time changes, but I totally forgot about it when I came in today, and I'm like, I wonder where Julie's at. Like, wonder if she got my link.
So sorry.
No, that was 100% on me. 100%.
Oh, what's funny is you go, did you get my link? I'm all, yeah. And then I still didn't log in because it wasn't time yet. And you're probably like, what in the world?
Well, Julie, tell us a little bit about first of all, where you live in Costa Rica, big, beautiful country, but I know people are coming in whenever they're deciding to come to one part of the country or the other. They are, picking whether they are out in Costa, in the southern zone, in the Central Valley.
Yeah.
So where are you?
I'm in Playa del Coco. We call it Coco Beach, and I'm on the Pacific coast, which is more northern Guanacaste region of Costa Rica. And it is hot. We don't get as much rain here. We get a lot of rain, rainy season. So right now we're finishing up our summer,
Right.
And haven't had any rain yet, but it'll start coming around April-ish and May. But so I'm on the Pacific coast. My son lives here, but he's more Central Valley, which is more mountainous. It's a little bit cooler at night. There are some cooler areas, but where I live, it gets very hot, very humid. You do get used to it. I even wear jeans. That's how you know someone lives here if they're wearing pants.
That's funny. So some parts of Costa Rica, you don't even have to have AC, but I will assume that you do.
I have AC 24/7, but I'm a little bit spoiled. Also, I live in condominiums and I'm on the second floor, so it does probably get a little warmer. At nighttime, 74 is very cool here. So at nighttime, when there's a little bit of a breeze, you don't need air conditioning.
Right. So you are originally from California, yes?
Yep. Born and raised in Long Beach in my early years and then Orange County.
Nice. And so let's go into, you live in California and you have you have two sons and a daughter, and you had never visited Costa Rica before. You have a catastrophic event that happens, and you're more than welcome to share that with us as much as you want.
So I'm in California. I have 3 kids, my grandson. I love California. I worked for one of the largest tax firms in the world, and I decided to retire. I just had so much on my plate. I do stand-up. I was teaching dance and palm reading, all these things. I write books. So I decided to retire in my last day was October 31st, 2022. And a month later, my middle son, who was 32 years old, he passes away. He suffered from epilepsy. So I am just pretty much down for the count. And my oldest son, all my kids are 4 years apart, like I planned it. And my oldest son said, "Hey, Mom, I had this dream. You need to move to Costa Rica." And I'm like, I am not freaking moving to Costa Rica. I don't even know where it is. Not to sound dumb, but that's how uninformed I was really about Costa Rica. So he begged me. We fought about it. And so I said, how about this? I'll buy you a flight. You go to Costa Rica for 2 weeks. See how you like it. He loves it. And then he just won't stop talking about it. So, and I'm retired. So I called my 2 sisters. I've got one sister in Saudi Arabia, one in Long Beach. I said, hey, I'll pay for your trips. Go with me so I can at least pretend like I looked, so my son will get off my back. And then we get here. Went to Tamarindo first. It was a little bit young and party. And remember, I'm only 5 months into my grieving.
Right.
So I wasn't really myself. I didn't know it, but looking back, I was a little, I was not in a good place. But then I came to here, Playa del Coco, in a community called Pacifico. And by the second day, I was like, oh, shoot, I can see myself living here. So I looked at a place, put some money down, and I just decided to let, the universe just kind of take its way. And I just, one thing led to another. I called my son. I said, "Hey, I'm not moving to the jungle, but I did buy a condo in a really beautiful, literally just gorgeous, phenomenal area. Like I really feel like I'm in heaven. It's pretty nice. So, I've been here and I've done a lot of healing, and it really has been good for my peace and just loving myself. I felt like I was so busy doing everything for everybody else. I wasn't taking care of myself. So here I am. And I love it.
Okay. So you skipped over the whole story of I found a condo.
Right. Okay. So
I'm with my sister still on vacation.
I'm on my sister's. Yeah. So it's a little bit in rainy season. It was the beginning of May. So, the second day in, we had this big storm and then it just stopped. Oh, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. And we're sitting on the patio overlooking freaking heaven. Like Jesus is about to walk by, passing out shards. That's how I felt. And I just looked at my sisters and I said, I could see myself living here. So it was funny when we looked at the condo where I live now. It was a 1 bedroom, but it's huge. It's probably 1,500 square feet with a big terrace. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And then we were sitting by the pool, having, margaritas or whatever we were doing. And a couple walked by and you could tell he was with maybe a real estate agent. So now my antennas go up and I go, oh, hi, what, how are you? Oh, they were just looking at this condo. And I said, oh my God, I need to snag this because there's not a ton available. And so I called my real estate agent that I, had talked to briefly. And I said, I think I want to put an offer down. So my whole family thought I was crazy. Plus I was grieving. They're like, Julie's lost it. She needs to get some, psychiatric help. She's moving out of the country and going to a third world country. Right. And, but I just did it. And now that was 2 years ago, May. And now my family sees how much I've progressed in my healing and how happy I am. And they're like, don't ever move back. Like they see it. And I love it here. I love going to bed. I love waking up. I have friends here. I do comedy here, palm reading. I'm teaching tap here at the gym. Like what? Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. So tell me that because we've touched on it a little bit when we visited, but like, where did you learn to read palms?
Oh, the palm reading. So this is really an interesting story. I went to a bachelorette party 25 years ago, decades ago, and there was a palm reader there. And even though I do comedy and I had this great job and I was teaching dance, we all have our insecurities, but I loved in the party how everybody just, went to her. Oh, read my palm, it just, I don't know. There was just something about it that intrigued me. So I started studying little by little. And then, of course, dating. How fun is it to be on a date? And he's like, so, and I'm like, whoa, I'm getting all the lines in. I could see if they're a cheater, liar, but obviously I've been studying for a long time. So I got into palm reading and interesting. I don't know if I should share this, but I might as well. The girl, it was the bachelorette party. The girl that was getting married was also a dance teacher, and that's how we knew each other. And about 5 years ago, I put something on Facebook, which I do. I said, hey, I'm doing palm readings for, a cheap price. Send me your palm. And she did, and I read it. And typically I won't remember your palm once I read it. I just read it. I move on to the next 20 palms. And sadly, I said she had an illness, get some liver checked, get this checked. And she's like, oh, that's weird. I'm going to the doctor to do that exact same thing. So anyway, we've been on with our life, few years. She passed away.
Oh.
So I did look at her palm reading. I know this is so personal, but I won't mention her name. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did see that. When we kind of shared a little bit. So I'm not saying it is the absolute truth. I do it for entertainment, but I do study it. It's kind of like, if you believe in astrology, but the palm of the hands is all planets and, it's like astronomy. You got Pluto, Mars, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter. So there are really a lot of indications, but I'm literally obsessed. So call me crazy. I'm obsessed with tap dancing, which is feet, palm reading hands, even holding a mic for comedy, piano. I knit. Everything I love is hands and palms. So I'm convinced that in a previous life, I did not have hands or feet because everything I love is feet. I know. You're like, cut the interview. She's psychotic. Or I envision somebody tying my hands and feet together and throwing me in the water, but I do love to swim. So that's out.
That's funny. Maybe you were just a dolphin, or
maybe I was a dolphin. You know, that's what I'm going to use. Yeah, that was my next tattoo, a dolphin.
There we go. See there? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go back because I always think about like the expat's journey, and for everybody else who's like considering this, so there's a lot of moving pieces, right? So you had bought the condo while you're on vacation, or you probably closed afterwards, whatever, and then you have to go back to the States because you have a house full of stuff.
I have a life, and I have a house full of stuff, and literally I have a garage full of stuff. You know, my parents passed away, brother, sister, son. We saved everything.
Mm-hmm.
And all my kids, stuff from school, 3 kids, dance costumes, report cards, artwork. I had a garage. I couldn't even park in the garage. It was full of things that I just couldn't let go of. So I'm dealing with, am I crazy? And if I am, oh, well, good. I want to be a little crazy, with my family wondering what I'm doing and questioning me, and also I produce a big comedy show in California called The Funniest Housewives. And, I'm living this life and I'm retired, and people are like, oh, how can you leave that, wonderful, slice of heaven that I produce? And, it was a great show with great women, Vicky Barbalock, AGT, Karen Rontowski, wonderful women. Anyway, so I go home and I have to now start packing. And, I love where I was living, but I just wasn't progressing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see a new chapter open. I was so stuck on these things that I had been doing for years. So I started packing, and I had so much stuff. And then I kept my apartment for a year just in case it didn't work out here. And, it also kind of comforted my family. Like, well, she keeps coming back. But every time I came back, I started getting rid of more stuff, selling, donating, and just giving things away. So the last big purge was August of 2023. And it was heartbreaking. I did cry a lot because that was really getting down to the nitty gritty. So I hired somebody, and another dance mom, and she sat with me. I could cry thinking about it. And, just getting through everything and my son's stuff. And, you don't need this. Like, it's funny how you need the weirdest things. You're like, I need this piece of yarn because when I was 5, no, you don't need it. Get rid of it. So I had 3 suitcases that I said, that's my limit. I brought some stuff back. And I packed it, and I unpacked it 4 times. She's like, we're unpacking. You don't need that file because you love blue. Like, the weirdest things we keep. So I have honestly one thing. So I'm leaving Wednesday. Today's Monday. I'm leaving Wednesday to go back to the States to see my daughter and some family. And I have one thing there, and I've been thinking about it a lot. Oof, this is tough. I have my son's ashes that I still have to bring over. So that's what I'm going to get. They've been sitting somewhere safe at my stepmom's house, and I got to bring those back. So that's the last of the stuff. And of course, so anyway, so it was a huge purge. And now when people bring me stuff, like they come to Costa Rica, they're like, I bought you a gift. No, I don't, unless it's wine. If it's not wine, God, in fact, do not give me a gift, the silliest things. Here's a new journal. Here's, so I really have gotten away from things. I'm, in my early 60s. So it's time to just let go and let live.
Well, it's funny because I tell people all the time, like even when I'm in the States and there's some sort of event or sales event or something, and my husband will go, should we go get one of those things? And I literally just respond with, I'm not a consumer right now. Is it going to be with us? And if not, then no, I don't need it.
Yeah. The one thing that I do when I go back is, in fact, I'm kind of really going back and forth because I can just I could just bring a suitcase on the plane and not check it back because I don't really need anything. I just a couple outfits and, whatever, face cream. But I do, I'm so used to bringing stuff back. So I'll make a list of things to bring back to Costa Rica. And then I go through it and I'm like, no, you can get a visor here. Like what? Up, got candles. And I'm like, no, we're just, it's like we're brainwashed.
Yeah.
We have all these things. So yeah, I have really downsized, and I just brought back only what was important. And the things that I ended up at the end, when you have like 4 hours left, I threw away some pretty phenomenal things, but I took pictures, but they're just things. And when I, transition, I don't want my kids having to go through all my stuff.
Right.
It was so painful. And when my son passed away and he had an apartment, I had to go through the entire apartment and get rid of things. The only thing I'll share this story if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So when my son was alive, his name is Marche. He was an incredible dancer, very, award-winning. I had given him a ring that belonged to my father who passed away. And so when I went to his apartment, and I'm obviously devastated, I just wanted the ring back. Not that it was worth anything, but I just wanted my dad's ring back. He passed when he was 53. I was like 30, 33. So I just wanted the ring back. Couldn't find it. Looked everywhere. I was there, 10 times packing. So then the last day, the movers are there, and I'm sitting, there's one, like a little beach chair. I'm sitting there on my phone. I've got tears streaming down. The movers are there. There's one item to move. And it was this, how do you call those big dressers? I can't think of the name. And I bought it for my son. So I knew
like a wardrobe, like a big wardrobe.
Yeah. And so they take it and they push it back. It's on the dolly, and it's leaning, and the side door opens. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like a treasure side door. Is there anything in there? Oh my God, maybe there's treasure. We were kind of joking. And he's like, no, nothing's in it. And he goes, oh, wait, bends down. I have goosebumps. Picks up my dad's ring and go, oh, there's a ring. There was a ring. Come on. Tell me that my son was not with me in that moment.
For sure.
So there are a lot of signs. I do kind of feel like Marche, my son that passed, I feel like he guided me here, and he's here with me. I see him. Sometimes I see him in people. One time I was at the pool and I looked over at this like lounge area, and I'm like, oh, that looks like Marche. And then I told my friend, and I started crying, and then he was just staring at me. And then I go, that looks like Marche. That looks like Marche. And then he just turned around and walked off. Call me crazy. He's here.
Absolutely. And I know I've shared with you, like I've been through a similar loss. And there's so many things that people don't understand until they've gone through this. As you and I spoke in the past, when we spoke, I've been through a similar loss too. And so I understand a lot of what you're going through. And a lot of the things that you call me crazy. It's not crazy. These are just the things that we experience as the closest thing to that loss, the closest to that spirit that has moved on. And there are times when they do come back and check on us, and they do 100% I think maybe just stop you to memorialize them again and go and just remind you that they are there, because we can feel such a profound abandonment, right? From not being there anymore. So those little glimpses into the other side sometimes are just that thing to make your soul be happy again, to know that, because we can even question, is there anything on the other side of this?
Yeah.
Are they just gone forever? Am I ever going to see them again? And those glimpses just remind you that, yes, we are spiritual beings walking around in these meat carcasses. But,
right. Oh, kidding.
And it's funny because I'm listening to a book right now, and I listen to about 3 different books at a time. So I can't tell you exactly which one it is. But the one that I'm listening to right now, they talk about our spirit, right? And all we think of is that it's contained within us. Like it's so small, it's inside of us, right? But it's not. Our spirit is so much bigger than the container that we think that holds it. And the way I can think of is because that's all we can see is this carcass that we walk around with in our spirit, and our soul must be inside of here. But it's not. It's not. It was here before, and it'll be here after. And this is just the vessel we're motivating through life in right now. So those little glimpses are just gifts for you.
Yeah, definitely.
100% gifts. And it's like, just have to go, thank you. I appreciate that gift.
Right. Yeah. And I know that we share that story. So definitely, bonding over that, but that's okay.
For sure. So when you bought your house, when you bought your condo, was it furnished? Because I know most places that you buy in Costa Rica come
Yes.
and everything. And that's like so nice to not have to worry about that.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, I moved like the dresser. I moved, a few things around. But the one thing, because I'm a germ freak, that really freaked me out was, the bed. But I just had to, and sitting on the couch for so many people because they Airbnb'd this out. But now, I've got my germs in here, so I'm good. I'm a germ freak. But
it's funny, but
I've added on a little.
I haven't really found a mattress in Costa Rica that I loved yet. Like they're used to very hard beds, and I'm not used to a soft bed, but I'm like, there's one there. Oh my gosh, we were down in Zancudo, and we had rented a Airbnb down there, and that bed was so hard. Like I probably would have been more comfortable sleeping on the concrete floor.
On the tile.
In the middle of the night, I got up and there was some couch cushions out on the couch, and I went in and woke my husband up. I'm like, get up, pull the sheet back. Like we're going to put these under the sheet and lay it up because it was so uncomfortable to lay on. That was the hardest bed I'd ever laid on in my life.
Well, my mattress is comfortable. I think about all the people that slept in it.
Yeah.
And what they did in that bed. So I did get rid of all the bedding, cleaned it as best I could. I bought all new stuff.
That's funny. And then I know, so last night was the Academy Awards and so
Oscars. Yep.
Yeah. So tell me about your connection to that yesterday.
Oh, well, mom brag. So my daughter she's 30 and she's been dancing since she was 3. Both my kids, my son that passed away, Jasmine, I taught dance. So big dance family. And she was on the Oscars last night dancing in the memoriam with Andres Bocelli, who he was amazing, singing with his son. And it was so beautiful. I couldn't really, see, where's Jasmine, my daughter? But so she's been on every award show, every single one. The one she hadn't done, was the Grammys, which she did, I don't know, 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
And she has such a great life. She toured with Katy Perry for 1.5 years. She just finished a big, what's that new J-Lo song? I Can't Get Enough. Which I actually really like. She did the Dolby music video for that. She's on all these billboards in LA. It's so weird. It's so interesting to see her live. She's done videos for Taylor Swift, Beyonce, everybody. And I live vicariously through her. And I, always have, maybe I dance mom brag too much, but she makes me a better person and she inspires me to keep dreaming because dreams, they really do come true. I look at her life and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And she's doing something so huge beginning next Sunday. I can't even say what it is. I can't even say what it is yet.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you off camera, but
okay.
Because she always said, Mom, you brag too much. But yeah, she's doing great. So I'm proud of her. And her husband, Alexander Chum, is a very respected choreographer. They live in Los Angeles. He's from Canada and he's so talented. So I have these talented kids that I'm just, so proud of. And I love them so much. And my daughter also does breath work. So she's doing a retreat in Bali in April. So yeah, they just, I'm a dreamer and, obviously I passed that on to my kids. My mother was a dreamer. She passed that on to me. I remember when I was 9, she said, listen, we're going to swing for 3 days on a swing. And you're going to be in the World Book of, Guinness Book of World Records. We're going to, and I'm like, okay. And then she's like, I'll feed you. Like, who thinks of that? And I was like, okay. So I called my friend and I said, hey, do you want to get in the, I'm 9, 10 years old. Do you want to make a world record? So I go, yeah. And I go, we're going to swing for 3 days. My friends were like, see, that's where I get the crazy.
Yeah.
Julie, you're crazy. And so then we ended up not doing it. But I remember the feeling of the excitement of doing it and then the letdown of not doing it. And I never lost that disappointment.
Yeah.
And that keeps me, really going forward with my dreams. And I have been dreaming and doing stuff ever since.
It's so funny because there's a book out there by Napoleon Hill, and it was written in the 1930s, and it's called Outwitting the Devil. And I love it. It wasn't released for a long, long, long time, like probably 10, 15 years ago. And it's funny because in the book, he's having an imaginary conversation with Satan. And Satan agrees to reveal all of the ways that he gets people to follow him and to sin and to fall from grace and all of those things. And
wow.
but he has to agree to call him Your Highness or something like that. And so he's like, okay. And it's on Audible too. And the two actors that they got to do the two different voices between Napoleon Hill and Satan were really good. And Satan sounds just like you think he would. You know, he sounds sinister and manipulative and whatever. But the
like my ex-boyfriend. Yeah, I hear it. I got it.
So one of the cool things, though, that he talks about in there is that like he goes into education, and he said, and this is in 1930s. You have to remember, like while I was reading it, I have to stop and remind myself. He's like, our education system is not created to make people be free thinkers. Our education system is created to make people memorize the stuff you want to read, and never, ever, ever are they encouraged to be free thinkers.
Brainwashed.
Right. And he's like, I can't control free thinkers. I can't control free thinkers at all. So if they have the ability to think freely on their own and create and come up with and to dream and to do those things, I don't have any control over them. And so when you said that,
right,
he has no control over that. It's so interesting. I mean, there was like several different points in there. I mean, he went over diet and what we consume, and think about like we didn't have processed foods in the 30s. Like we didn't have them. And so
well, I think food has a lot to do with, you know, how our brains work too. I've been vegan for, you know, I don't know, 8 years now. And my thinking has changed. I'm happier. This sounds strange. My third eye is so ignited. I credit my, you know, how I eat to my healthy brain. And, you know, thank God for me, made that choice. But, you know, it's interesting, and I will admit this, it took me years. I never graduated high school. I was so busy dreaming and in my mind, and I have continued to be that way. And, you know, but I talk about, and my kids are dreamers too. So I was on Dr. Phil years ago, and he, you know, about my kids in dance, and I created this tap and burn video, which was very successful. It was on The View, it was in Shape magazine, and all these things. But he's like, that's a horrible, you know, thing to create, and your kids dance too much, they're going to be horrible, and I need to get them in counseling. And every time my daughter, she was, you know, top 10, and So You Think You Can Dance, and her career has been amazing. It's never stopped. I always want to send him little snippets. Yeah, here's my psychotic daughter who lost her mind, you know.
Yeah.
But he's traveled the world, you know, 5 times. I want to send him snippets. Yeah, you know, it all worked out, Dr. Phil. But yeah, that was the worst TV show I did. That and Wipeout, 2 of the worst shows I ever did.
Okay, so let's go on. So you've downsized, and you still have some stuff that you need to work on, but and I know that we talked about letting go of stuff was difficult, and I know that when we finally let go of the stuff in the States, that'll be the hardest part for my husband for a couple of reasons. One, he is a pack rat, and like. I would love to tell you the story of the first time after we got married and we decided to have a yard sale, and we had the money to go. We were taking the kids on vacation to Mexico, but we were taking in a bigger group than we normally take. And I was like, just to get the kids involved. I'm like, let's have a yard sale, and every time we sell something, it'll be Mexico money, right?
Oh, I love it.
And so we're out in the garage, and there's stuff that had been in boxes in the garage for years. And I'm just going through it. And if there's value and I can sell it, I'm moving this way. And if it's not, I'm putting it in the trash. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you my husband was standing over the trash can, pulling stuff out of it to the point where I told him, I'm like, I swear, if you take one more thing out of that trash can, you're going to be divorced. I promise you, I have already assessed whether there's value in it or not. Like, let's look at like this bottle right here. See this plastic top on the right here? Let's say that I lost the whole bottle, but I just had the plastic top to it. Like, it wouldn't fit any of the rest of the bottles. It didn't have the straw connected to it. It didn't have anything. It was just the top to it right there. Oh no, we would hang on to it for 10 damn years in hopes that another bottle might show up that it would fit. And I'm like, It's
Been there.
with a bottle. The new top
Yep.
is going to come with its own bottle. So for him, the getting rid of stuff will be the hardest part. And I have told him, like, you need to start working on this crap. You need to start getting this crap out of the garage.
Yeah.
But we had the same thing, right? The kids leave and they leave their stuff there. Or how do you throw away? I'll tell you, my son that passed, Dallas, was a high school football player. And his jersey, a little thief, stole his pads and his jersey and his helmet from the high school before he left. Now, he passed when he was 20, so he'd already had these shoved in his house for 2 years because he'd kiped them from the equipment room.
And now you have them.
Now I have them. So for years, I like have this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know how. Not that I don't know how, like, I know I could go take it back to the high school or something and let them reuse the stuff, I guess is what I could do.
No,
like,
they want you to have it.
I just don't, I know, but I don't want it now. Like, I don't want his pads. I'll keep his jersey, but his helmet and that's, oh, good grief. And so you just kind of have to, and like pictures, right? So you can't just take all those pictures. So I'm scanning them all in digitally right now and throwing them in Dropbox so that they're there. So I have them, but they're just going to get crappy when they come down in that humidity. If I don't do it, I'm not going to bring them all. And so there's so many things that you just have to work through the process of letting go, from when they were children, and to even into their adult stuff. Like my daughter's wedding dress is at my house. And I'm like, that needs to go to your house. It doesn't need to be at my house. So come and get your crap from my house.
Yeah.
They're like, oh
I've packed a lot of my daughter's stuff up.
And I can't imagine you with all your dance costumes over the years, right? Those are like mom gold. That's mom crack.
You know, I packed a lot of stuff up and I mailed it to my daughter. And anything that I had from her dad, because we're divorced, I sent her too. And she loved having that. I mean, she even has, my wedding band. She wears it sometimes. But, I do still struggle a little bit here. I have something, I don't know what this is. I need to get maybe some counseling on it. I can't throw away like spaghetti jars or jam jars. And then I have candle jars, some glass candles that you buy at the market. And I do throw them away, but I might keep them for a week. It's an ongoing battle. Jam jars, like what? Because I keep saying I'm going to make candles. Am I ever? No.
There's three sitting on my countertop right now. One is a glass spaghetti sauce jar. What the other? Two of them are old honey jars. They're literally, there's nothing special about them. And my husband. And so like I left them sitting there and I don't even know why they're sitting on there. Like I should have just thrown them away, but they ran through the dishwasher. They're sparkling clean. It's because they're glass.
Yeah,
use, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. I'm working on it.
So let's talk about your stand-up comedy. So you were a stand-up comedian, are a stand-up comedian.
Yep.
And
32 years.
And so that's an interesting career to have in the States, as well as now transitioning down to Costa Rica and adding some humor there.
Yeah. So I thought, when I get to Costa Rica, I'm going to do stand-up. I'm going to teach, I can do dance still. And I get here and there's no comedy every once in a while. So what's interestingly enough is there's a really well-known comedy club called Flappers in Burbank. And the owner is Barbara. Love Barbara. It just so happens, coincidentally, she has a condo. Literally, I can see it from my terrace across the pool. So she's been down here with another comedian, Laura Hayden. They've been down here a few times. So when they come down, we do comedy shows at the beach club that we belong to. So we've done that. I've done some others. There is a famous comedian that's in San Jose, Costa Rica, that did a show down here. So I opened for him. So, but I've gotten to know the owner of this hotel, Palms Hotel. I'm there every Thursday. They do open mic. So I go down and do comedy, but they do open mic for musicians, and the musicians are amazing. And I do a lot of song parodies and comedy, and I do comedy. So now people are starting to know, she's the comedian in town. So I really am bringing comedy here. And then when I get back, I go to LA in a couple days. When I get back next week, I'm going to start promoting. I'm going to do a comedy workshop for expats, because there's always these, I've always thought about doing comedy. So I'm going to teach comedy. And then we're going to have like an 8-week course, and then we'll do the graduation at the Palms Hotel. So, and I'm trying to get into Planet Hollywood. So I am making my way to the resorts, and I can bring comedians, great comedians. And especially if I'm working with Barbara, who owns Flappers, I mean, anything is possible. And I'm a dreamer, so I will not give up, and I will make that happen. The next time we talk, it'll be happening.
Next time you'll be a booking agent for all of the.
That's what I want. That's exactly my goal.
Yeah, for sure.
I just have that's my only dream right now, is that.
Right. And so you're retired. I will assume that you're sustaining yourself on SSI.
Yeah, Social Security. And then you can't really work out here because I'm not a resident, and I'm not going to get my residency. I don't see that happening. You get to be here for 60 days, until you have to restamp the passport. Now, you can only drive for 3 months. So if you get caught driving after 3 months and your passport's not stamped, which doesn't make any sense to me.
I know the 180 is your visa, but you can only drive for 90.
Yeah. So that's so silly. But, we go to Nicaragua. It's an hour away. Call it a Nick run, get, in a van with a few other people, go in, stamp, turn around, come back. But I do go to the U.S. every kind of few months because I either visit, or there's a retirement party or birthday party, or someone's having a baby. So I do make my way. And I'm right by Liberia Airport, 25-minute drive. And the flight to L.A. nonstop is 5.5 hours. It's so easy.
That's easy. That's
so
easy.
No big deal.
Okay. So now you do. So we've kind of brushed over this too. Your older son he moved to Costa Rica as well.
So he moved here. He is in Chiripo, which is about 6 or 7 hours south of me. More mountainous, gorgeous. It is phenomenal. And he's a filmmaker. So he does a lot of drone work, real estate film, and also for people that are having, yoga workshops or trying to, promote their business. And his name magic.
Is Ferin?
His name is Ferin. Yeah. Ferin, like Fahrenheit. When I was pregnant with him, I could spit fire. So I named him Ferin.
That's hysterical. And does he love his life there?
He loves his life here.
Good.
And now we're both out here. And I think my sister from Saudi Arabia, she will be out here too. I think when I said that, the resorts in comedy was my only dream, I'm working on a couple other things that I think will be able to put us in a place where both my sisters move out here.
I love it. And so tell me about, I have this written down. Your daughter was on the last flight out of Costa Rica.
So when COVID hit, my daughter had been here, quite a few times doing different retreats and stuff like that. So it's now COVID. It's, March, June, May. It is right when it was really happening. And she said,
end of March, really.
Yeah. She said, it's all such a blur now, isn't it? She said, Mom, I'm staying in Costa Rica. And I'm like, no, you're going to get your, blank, 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 blank back here. You're not staying in Costa Rica. And she's like, I really want to. So then finally she made a decision. Okay, I'll come back. She gets on the plane, and the stewardess, do we even call them that anymore? The flight attendants, excuse me for that. The flight attendant said, give yourselves a round of, there's like 10 people on the plane. Give yourselves a round of applause. You just got the last plane out.
Wow.
And thank God she did, because her life has changed so much. And she met her husband, and, moving forward. So she was glad that she made that decision. But if everything should ever get locked down again, I would be glad that I'm in Costa Rica.
Yeah. So my best friend and my business partner, her fiance lives in Denmark. And then every year in the winter, they go skiing like in Austria. Like it's a drive for them from Denmark, but it's just a drive. Like if we were in Arizona and going to Colorado to go skiing, right? It's a drive like that. And so when this all started, whenever the news started happening that, it's in Italy, it's blah, blah, blah. So she's generally in Denmark around that time for about 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And then they're skiing for generally like 10 days, and they're in Austria. And it's like their winter break for the school. So all the school kids are on like what we would call spring break here, are all in Austria, partying, skiing, doing whatever. And so I'm communicating with her as I see like the world shutting down. Right. And I'm like, you probably need to start making your way back home. Like you probably,
Right.
because she's not a citizen of Denmark. And, you know, one of the things that we didn't know, like you were probably worried about too, if she got sick there, would they take care of her? Are they going to take,
Yeah.
are they going to take only the citizens first? Will any foreigners be treated there? Well, you know, we didn't know any of that stuff. And she was a flight attendant for 30 years. And at that time, she was still a flight attendant. And so she knew like where the flights were still going out of. And she's like, there's still flights going out of London. I just need to get to London. And so like the days just keep going. And they're like, yes, all Americans need to be leaving, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Beverly, you need to get home. Like, you need to make this a priority. And she's like, yeah, I'm watching the flights. Everything's fine. But they were so secluded where they were at and really cut off from a lot of the media crap that I don't think she understood the brevity of it. And so I was like, finally, I was like, okay, you need to get your effing ass home. Like, get on whatever, flight, get out. So they hadn't even really left Austria yet. And they were shutting down the borders to Denmark. And so there was a good chance that because she wasn't a Denmark citizen, they weren't even going to let her into Denmark. She was going to be stuck in Austria. So they made it into Denmark. And then she's goofing around for like another day. Like, I'm like, girl, I'm telling you, get wherever you got to get to London, get on that plane and get home. And when she got home, it was mandatory quarantine. So she quarantined for 2 weeks whenever she got home. But it was like, she was like on one of the last flights out of London. Like they were shutting them down too.
Yeah.
I'm like, you would have been stuck in a foreign country, like with nobody being able to, nobody coming in or going out.
You know, there's a great Netflix documentary. Have you seen it? The Longest Third Date.
I love that.
Went to Costa Rica. I loved it. I loved it too. Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I don't know if they're still together. I probably haven't researched that to see if they are, but that was.
I think I don't want to spoil it, but I think they got married and they have a child. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah. And I think there's another one afterwards.
Yeah, because you could really see it, like right through his lens of him videoing everything. You could see like the stuff that, not that we all went through, but like we really kind of did. Like we weren't in Costa Rica when it happened, but like those things all happened to us too, just in different forms of it. It was such. I liken it to the mortgage meltdown, right? So the mortgage meltdown, if you were in the banking industry at that time, which I was, and then as you get away from the 2007, 2008, 2009, when all of that crap was going on, like you just forget some of it, right? And then I was watching the movie The Big Short, and it was like PTSD. Like I was back there on that day,
right,
living that life. And so when I was watching The Longest Third Date, like I felt like that too. I felt like all of that stuff was renewed again. Like, oh my God, I forgot we went through that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when COVID hit, and sadly, what happened to George Floyd, my son's filmmaker, the next day after George Floyd was murdered, my son flew out to Minneapolis. And, we were in full lockdown COVID. And I feel like that really kind of disrupted the lockdown.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to release my son ended up doing a documentary, which is quite brilliant. We're getting ready to, release that soon.
Awesome.
But I watched that the other night and I'm like, that seems like history now. That seems like a whole chapter lifetime ago.
Right. And it wasn't that long ago.
It's only been, it'll be 4 years, the anniversary in May. It's only 4 years.
Seems like
such a sad, horrible time.
Absolutely. Okay. So, I don't know if you don't want to talk about it, we can edit this part of it out. So it's up to you. So, because I took notes, but I wasn't sure whether you wanted to talk about, because you have impending legal activity about falling in love with the Tico.
Boy, if you only knew. Ooh, my attorney would be so pissed.
We don't have to.
I can't wait to. It is all going to come out.
Okay.
I met it. You can put this on. You can put this part on there. I did. I was doing a comedy show at the Palms Hotel. And after the show, this man came up to me and, you were so funny. I'm like, next, I'm in my high, from comedy. And we kind of start talking with the group, and he mentions he had a son that passed away. So I hugged him and I said, oh, we should maybe have coffee, plus I've already had a couple glasses of wine. So I'm like, oh, we should go out and have coffee and talk, So then the next day, my son wasn't feeling good. He was here, the filmmaker's son. And he, we shared that in common. We both lost a son. So the next day, it was about 7 p.m. and I hadn't even showered all day the next day after the show. Probably maybe, I'm not saying I was hungover, but so I go to the store. I have a dress on here. You don't wear a bra or underwear. You don't wear makeup. Like who cares how we look? You already know. So I'm at the store and I see this guy at the end of the wine aisle and I'm looking at him and I have my shopping cart. He has a cart. I'm like, oh, that looks like the guy from last night. And so I walk up and I'm like, no, he seems cuter. So I bump his cart and I'm like, oh, you're the guy I met last night. He goes, yeah, let's have coffee tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the last thing I want to do. So we have coffee. We talk for 2.5 hours. I'm not interested. I haven't dated for 10 years. But then we started really hanging out and we had a couple more dates and we went to this restaurant where is right by my condo and he looked so handsome. And I'm like, shit. So we ended up dating all summer. Totally love bombed me. Totally. And I got sucked right into it. But, I met his family. We went to San Jose. We, so many memories. We went to every restaurant here, so we ended up breaking up. I started my intuition. My gut was like, you know what? He is taking something from me and use your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Cha-ching. Anyway, so I decided to end it. I just, I felt like I was going to marry this guy. And he has a great job here. He's building property on land and he does have a lot of really great qualities. But so I broke up with him and the rest will be told at a later date.
Absolutely. Okay. So,
but you know what? Off the record, that's the hard part about being here, Robin, is everything reminds me of him. Everything reminds me of him. And so I do think about how long can I stay here? And I run into him. Like if you knew the story, you would just freak out. And I run into him and it's not good. So it was a very painful breakup.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot.
I'm sure. And just another journey for you.
Yeah. Just another great documentary.
Right.
That I'm gonna make it next year.
It's just content. Your life just keeps providing you with content.
I'm doing a documentary on the funniest housewives, which a lot of the filming has been done and a lot of the edits are done. I'm doing a documentary on my son that died of epilepsy called Dying to Dance. All the filming interviews, they take place in different studios. That's done. And I think I'm going to do this last documentary.
Cool. Okay. So as we wrap this up, because we're coming up to 50 minutes right now, I always try to ask this question. And so in the beginning, when we all think about retiring to another country, for those of us who do dream of that, we think about like, what are some of the difficulties we're going to face? And we think about it sight unseen, right? This is going to be the hardest thing I have to do. And I want to know what is something that you thought was going to be super difficult, but it wasn't really as hard as you thought it would be.
Leaving family, leaving my daughter. But the fact that I lost a son, that passed away, my daughter's living her best life. Yeah. I want her to live that best life. And then when you do go back to visit, you spend a week together, which in a year, if I was living there, I might see her every 3 months or 2, we have a really good quality time. I think what's hard is, and I'm not putting down gringos or expats, but we're so entitled. We have such great privilege. We want things fast. People complain like Tico time. Tico time is a real thing. They haven't given me the check for my dinner yet. Like, well, how long do I have to wait? Well, they're not going to interrupt you. They want you to enjoy your time. Yeah, things are just a little bit different. People want to come out here and kill the bugs and do that. No, you don't. You can't do that. In fact, I save all the bugs. I'm kind of a freak about that. There's just the little things that I think where the privilege and entitlement comes from. And I'm so embarrassed to say that. Get over it. Just enjoy life here. It's slow. It's beautiful. It's amazing. A car is expensive.
Yes.
So that kind of sucks. But there's always going to be, if you think you're going to come here and have the life you had, then don't come. Stay in the life you had.
Right. My husband, I'm like, so all of us are going through learning Spanish. And so I'm trying to get my husband to learn Spanish. Nice. And so I won't let him when we're in country, I won't let him because, they won't bring the check until you ask for it. They just won't.
Exactly.
And I mean, like, you sit there till they close. They're just not going to bring you the check. And so we're trying to break him from doing the age old thing, right? Which is,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, sit on your hands and ask for the check in Spanish. And he tries so hard.
I love it.
It's really funny. And then he'll do the thing. And I'm like, put your hands down. It's so funny. We're like, Brian's going for his hands again. He's going to do it. It's like the age old sign language.
That's so funny. And I'm going to have to do comedy on that. And then we go, can we?
Yeah.
Can we? But they do know. So you are right. And I am learning Spanish. And I've gotten better. I have a bank account here. Now that took me about 5 days. And every day I would leave crying because it's such a big thing. Things are different, but then don't come.
Yeah.
It challenges you and you learn so much about yourself. Oh my gosh. And people complain about the roads and the potholes. Then don't come. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, the roads are the roads can be crap. There's so many things. The banking is so funny because I was speaking to this guy from Canada, and he was like, I don't know, nothing's really been that hard. And I'm like, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say banking. And he goes, oh my gosh, banking is you're right. And you go through that horror story. And then he sent me, and I told him, I'm like, go to one of the big cities, like go to San Isidro or whatever. And when you go into one of those banks, like the funniest thing happens in the whole wide world, right? Because there's rows and rows and rows of folding chairs. And everybody is sitting, and they're sitting in a pattern that you may not know as a gringo where you're supposed to sit, right? Because when one person goes up to the teller, then the whole line stands up. They all move over one space and sit back down again. And it's the serpentine, right? So if you're coming into the back, you have to make sure you're at the spot that is actually the end of the line of the serpentine. So you may have to wait till everybody stands up so you know who the last person is.
You'll be there for 2 hours just to do one transaction. So I know how to do the ATMs were really hard. Paying my bills took me 3 months. My boyfriend at the time was so, he also had a lot of great qualities. I can sit here and bash him, but I did love him and I still love him. But he helped me with all my, how to pay my bills. It's so embarrassing because I'm like, I can't do this. But now, now I've been here almost 2 years. I pay my own bills. I have a bank account. I know how to do a little bit of Spanish. I know my way around. Sometimes I trip. The other day I tripped and this guy was in front of me and I landed on him and thank God he was there. He literally saved my life, but I wasn't like these damn potholes. That's what we have. I will say this, what kind of bothers me and my boyfriend who my ex is Tico, the expats will come in here and paint the speed bumps and do this. No, this is how it's been all these years. Don't come here and make it like it's California or Canada. Please stop. So that's the only thing, even talking to my Tico ex, like, don't come here and change it and make it. We like the Tico way. We like the roads like this. We like and I do too. I get it.
And so then what was one thing that you thought would be super easy that ended up being one of the most difficult things for you?
You're going to come here, you're going to get in a condo, and then you're going to get a car. Like, you learn these different things you have to pay. Marchama, which is this kind of an insurance separate from your own, and DECRA, where you have to get the car. You have to get your car, depending on how old it is, like every year or 2 years. It has to go through this series of, they check it to make sure it's in good condition. And you're in the car while they do it. I have PTSD. It was the worst experience. But you know what? Get over it, Julie. But there's just weird things that we have to do. I think I wasn't really thinking. I was just going to move here. It's beautiful. I live in heaven. A lot of things are better. Getting medication, going to the doctor, going to the dentist. You don't need a prescription. You just walk in and get what you need. I feel like there's more things that are easier. I feel like, groceries are kind of expensive, but I live in kind of an expat area. So, but you know what? Then buy less. Stop complaining. People love to complain on the Facebook groups, and don't come. Don't come.
That's why I started doing this podcast, is because, matter of fact, I saw a post the other day and I was just like, are you kidding me? And someone had posted, they'd asked a question about moving to Costa Rica, and they'd asked like a legitimate question in there. And like some hateful old turd right off the bat was just like, why don't you just stay where you're at and don't come down here? We don't need you coming down here anyways. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who are you? And why is the admin of this group allowing this? Like,
Right.
it was
People here are so nice. And so when I see that, it's like, you know what? Stop.
Yeah. And so I just wanted everyone to hear real stories from real people who have made the move, who have bumbled through the stuff that we don't know, right? And are thriving.
And let me just add, I'm a white mother of 3 Black children. I saw what happened where we lived, racism and things like that. And, watched my son grow up in that. It was horrible. And people go, oh, do you feel safe? Yeah. I walk around at night. I can go to church. There's no shooting. There's no shooting at the Palms Hotel where I do comedy. I go to the different resort. I don't worry about getting shot. Is there, like, don't leave your wallet on the bench.
Right.
I remember leaving my flip-flops on the sand to take a dive into to go swim in the ocean. And I was like, oh, get stolen. They were still there, right there where I left them. So I do feel very safe here. I am happy and I feel healthy. I feel at peace. I'm working on my grieving, loving myself. It's all coming together.
Well, and some lady had asked, she said, there's like 2 of us and we're like in our late 50s. Is it safe for us to come there by ourselves? And I'm like, I have traveled in and out of Costa Rica on my own, all by myself so many times, literally for years. Like I
live alone.
Yeah, I fly in. I take a small plane over to Capos, and I just have my backpack on, and I stand out and I wait for the bus or I take one of the taxis into town. I mean, like I never ever considered myself unsafe. Now I'll tell you, I will swear to God, you will not catch this woman alone in New Orleans. You will not catch me alone on the street in Chicago. There are cities in the US that I will not go to. Like, and I've never felt like that in Costa Rica. And I'm sure there are some areas that are shady. Like I don't go to Jaco. Like there's places I just don't go to because I'm not touristy. But like I know where my people are. I know where to go. It's like in California, there's places in California I don't go and walk at nighttime by myself. There are cities in California that I don't do that, and you have to know
that it can even be.
There's also cities in California that are amazing.
Yeah. Even where I was living, it was gorgeous and beautiful, but 2 streets over, nothing. It's that close. But there's going to be, a little bit of crime everywhere, and you just have to be smart. And, and when you talk about people in their 50s, where I live, that's young. I feel young here, which is kind of nice.
For sure. Well, guys, we're going to wrap this up. It has been a lovely conversation with Julie Kidd. I'm going to put links that Julie has provided me that I really enjoyed keeping up with. I mean, I would really love to put the one video of your daughter dancing. I don't think she'd be okay with that, but I watched that entire thing the other day when you posted it on Facebook, and it was so beautiful. And
do post it. Yes, she would. I would love that, and she would.
I would love to. And I just want everybody to understand, first of all, if you got any value from this podcast, by all means, subscribe, hit the download button, do all of the things that, to do this, to follow, because every week we deliver new content of new expats who have made their way to Costa Rica and what their journey was like. And for me, it's just, it is so refreshing because I'm so excited every time I do an interview, and I'll tell my husband, oh my God, I just talked to the most amazing person. Oh my gosh, this thing, blah, 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 blah. And he'll be like, oh my gosh, where are they from? What did they do? And he's like so excited by it too. So I know that the people who are watching get excited also. So just hit the subscribe button and back next week and watch another one. And I'll put all the links to find Julie in the show notes below. And other than that, everybody, obviously.
Thank you.
Pura Vida.
Pura Vida. And I can't wait to see you out here, Robin.
Oh, I can't wait either. I'm going to come see you.
Okay. All right. Pura Vida. Adios and ciao.